The great hall of the Zephyrian Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Tall beings from 100 different worlds sat in floating chairs that moved through the air like ghosts. Their skin colors ranged from deep purple to bright silver, and their eyes glowed with different colors in the dim light. Ambassador Cuthver stood at the center of the room. His body was tall and thin, with 4 arms that moved like snakes. His voice carried across the hall without any need for machines to make it louder. "My fellow council members," Cuthver began, his voice smooth and cold, "our scouts have found something interesting in the outer regions of space." A hologram appeared above his head. It showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness. White clouds moved across its surface, and large areas of green and brown could be seen beneath. This world calls itself Earth," Cuthver continued. "The beings there call themselves humans. They are young and weak. They have barely learned to leave their own world." The council members made sounds of interest. Some clicked their tongues, others hummed low notes. A few laughed with sounds like breaking glass. "How weak are they?" asked Council Member Zithara. Her voice sounded like wind through metal pipes. "Very weak," Cuthbert replied, with what passed for a smile among his people. "They still use chemical rockets to move through space. They fight wars with metal bullets. They have not even learned to travel faster than light." More laughter filled the hall. To the council members, this was like hearing about children playing with sticks, while adults carried energy weapons. "What do you suggest we do with them?" asked another council member. "The same thing we always do," Cuthver said. "We take their world. We make them serve us. Their bodies are strong enough for manual labor. Their minds are simple enough to follow orders without causing trouble." Far away from the council hall, in the cold space near Jupiter, Admiral Jake Collins stood on the bridge of the HSS Discovery. The ship was humanity's pride and joy, built to explore the outer planets and search for signs of life beyond Earth. Jake was a man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent most of his life in space, watching the stars and wondering if humans were alone in the universe. Today, he was about to get his answer. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Pete Johnson from his station at the front of the bridge, "I'm picking up something strange on the sensors." Jake walked over to look at the screens. "What kind of strange?" "Ships, sir. Big ones. They just appeared out of nowhere near Europa." Jake felt his heart start to beat faster. "How big?" "Each. One is about 10 times the size of our ship," Pete said. His voice was quiet with fear. "There are 12 of them." Captain Lisa Morgan, a military officer assigned to the Discovery, came to stand beside Jake. She was a woman in her 40s, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. She had been a soldier for 20 years and had seen many dangerous situations, but nothing like this. "Are they responding to our communications?" Lisa asked. "No, ma'am," replied Communications Officer Betty Adams. "They're not answering any of our calls." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. They both knew what this meant. After years of searching, humanity had finally found other intelligent life. The question was whether this was good news or bad news. The answer came quickly. "Admiral," Pete shouted, "one of the ships is moving toward us." On the main screen, they could see a ship that looked like a giant knife made of black metal. It moved through space without any visible engines, gliding toward them like a shark swimming through dark water. "Paul, stop," Jake ordered. "Prepare for first contact procedures." The alien ship stopped about a mile away from the Discovery. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the ship's surface began to glow with a blue light. "We're being scanned," reported Science Officer Carl Wheeler. "The scan is very detailed. They're learning everything about our ship." "Can we scan them back?" Jake asked. "I'm trying, sir, but their hull is blocking our sensors." Suddenly, The bridge speakers crackled. To life. A voice spoke, but it was not human. The words were harsh and sharp, like metal scraping against stone. "Primitive vessel," the voice said. "You will prepare to be boarded. Your species will surrender to the Zephyrian Empire. Resistance will result in your destruction." Lisa stepped forward. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the human vessel Discovery. We come in peace. We wish to establish diplomatic relations." The alien voice laughed. It was a sound like breaking bones. "Diplomacy is for equals. You are insects. Insects do not negotiate with those who step on them." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "We are not insects. We are human beings. We have rights." "You have no rights," the voice replied. "You have 3 of your rotations around your star to surrender completely. If you do not surrender, we will destroy your world and everyone on it." 3 days, Lisa whispered. "They're giving us 3 days." The alien ship's blue glow grew brighter. Suddenly, one of Jupiter's smaller moons exploded in a flash of white light. The explosion was so bright that the bridge windows automatically darkened to protect the crew's eyes. When the light faded, the moon was gone. In its place was a cloud of dust and rocks spreading slowly through space. "That was a demonstration," the alien voice said. "Your weapons cannot do this. Your ships cannot do this. You cannot stop us. Surrender now, and some of your people will be allowed to live as our servants. Fight us, and you will all die." The alien ship turned away from the Discovery and began moving back toward the rest of the fleet. The other ships followed it, disappearing into the darkness of space as suddenly as they had appeared. The bridge of the Discovery was completely silent. Everyone stared at the cloud of dust that had once been a moon. "Get me Earth Command," Jake said finally. "Priority 1 emergency channel." "Yes, sir," Betty replied, her hands shaking as she worked the controls. Within minutes, the face of General Paul Richards appeared on the main screen. He was a large man with a bald head and a thick mustache. His eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Admiral Collins," the general said, "we've been monitoring your communications. The president has been briefed. We're calling an emergency session of the Global Defense Council." "General," Jake said, "they destroyed a moon like it was nothing. Our weapons are toys compared to theirs." "I understand, Admiral, but we're not going to surrender. Humanity has never surrendered to anyone, and we're not going to start now." Lisa stepped forward. "General, with respect, we need to be realistic. We can't fight them with the technology we have. Then we'll have to get better technology. They..." General replied, "We have 3 days to figure out how to defend ourselves. We're going to use every hour of those 3 days." Jake looked out at the stars, where the alien ships had disappeared. "Do you really think we can win?" "I don't know," the general admitted. "But I know we're going to try. The human race doesn't give up. We never have, and we never will." The communication ended, leaving the bridge in silence again. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all scared, but he could see something else in their eyes. It was the same thing he felt in his own heart. It was determination. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." "Yes, sir," Pete replied. As the Discovery turned toward home, Jake thought about the aliens' words. They had called humans insects. They had said that insects don't negotiate. But insects, Jake thought, sometimes bite back, and sometimes the bite is poisonous. The emergency meeting room deep beneath. The White House was filled with the most important people on Earth. President Robert Hayes sat at the head of a long metal table, his face serious and tired. He had not slept since the alien message arrived. 12 hours ago, around the table sat the leaders of every major nation. The President of China, the Prime Minister of Russia, the Chancellor of Germany, and dozens of others. For the first time in human history, every country had put aside their differences to face a common enemy. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Hayes began, "we all know why we're here. The aliens have given us 72 hours to surrender. If we refuse, they will destroy our planet." General Paul Richards stood up. He was a big man who had spent 40 years in the military. His voice was strong and clear when he spoke. "Mr. President, I've reviewed all the data from Admiral Collins. The alien ships are more advanced than anything we have. Their weapons can destroy moons. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. So you're saying we should surrender?" asked the President of France. "No," General Richards replied firmly. "I'm saying we need to be smart about this. We can't fight them head-on and win. But that doesn't mean we can't fight them at all." Dr. Susan Palmer, the head of Earth's Advanced Defense Research Division, stood up next. She was a small woman with gray hair and thick glasses, but her mind was one of the sharpest on the planet. "Mr. President," she said, "I've been studying the recordings from the Discovery. The aliens are confident, maybe too confident. They think we'll surrender because every other species has surrendered to them. What makes you think we're different?" asked the Prime Minister of Japan. Dr. Palmer smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Because we're humans. We're the species that climbed out of caves and decided to fly to the moon. We're the species that split the atom and built computers. We're the species that never gives up." President Hayes nodded. "What do you suggest, Doctor?" "We have 3 days," Dr. Palmer said. "We use every minute of those 3 days to prepare. We turn every factory into a weapons factory. We turn every ship into a warship. We turn every human being into a soldier." "That's impossible," said the President of Brazil. "We don't have enough time." "Then we make time," said General Richards. "We work around the clock. We don't sleep. We don't rest. We prepare for war." "What about the people?" asked the Chancellor of Germany. "They're scared. They're panicking." President Hayes thought for a moment. "We tell them the truth. We tell them that aliens have threatened our world. We tell them that we're going to fight back, and we ask them to help us." 2 hours later, President Hayes stood before cameras. That would broadcast his words to every human being on Earth. Behind him stood the leaders of every nation, united as they had never been before. "My fellow humans," the President began, "today we learned that we are not alone in the universe. Aliens have come to Earth. They have demanded that we surrender our world to them. They have threatened to destroy us if we refuse." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not bow down. We will not give up our world to anyone." Around the world, people stopped what they were doing to listen. In cities and towns, in homes and offices, on ships and in space stations, every human being heard the same message. "We have 3 days to prepare," the President continued. 3 days to show these aliens what human beings are really made of. I'm asking every one of you to help. If you can build, then build weapons. If you can fight, then prepare to fight. If you can think, then think of ways to win. "We are not a perfect species," President Hayes said. "We fight among ourselves. We make mistakes. We have problems. But we have one thing that these aliens don't understand. We have the human spirit. We have the refusal to give up. We have the determination to fight for what is ours." He took a deep breath. "The aliens think we're weak because we're young. They think we're helpless because our technology is primitive. They think we'll surrender because other species have surrendered to them. They're wrong. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten a human being's home." Within hours of the President's speech, the entire world began to change. Factories that made cars started making missiles. Shipyards that built cargo vessels started building warships. Computer companies started. Designing weapon systems. Captain Tony Rodriguez found himself in command of a fleet he had never imagined. 3 days ago, he had been the captain of a cargo ship carrying supplies to Mars. Now he was the leader of the hastily assembled Earth Defense Fleet. "How many ships do we have?" Tony asked his new second-in-command, Commander Sue Williams. 237, Sue replied. "Most of them are cargo ships with weapons welded onto them. A few are military vessels. None of them are designed to fight ships that can destroy moons." Tony looked out at the fleet gathering near Earth's moon. The ships were not beautiful. They were not elegant. They were rough and desperate and built in a hurry. But they were human ships, and they were ready to fight. "What about the ground forces?" Tony asked. "Every nation is mobilizing," Sue replied. "We have Agent Carl Watson coordinating with resistance groups. If the aliens land, they'll face fighters in every city, every town, every village on Earth." Meanwhile, engineer Amy Foster worked without sleep in a factory that had been making refrigerators 3 days ago. Now it was making weapons. The workers had volunteered to work 24 hours a day until the deadline. "How are we doing on the missile production?" Amy asked her assistant, Bob Turner. "We've made 3,000 missiles in the last 2 days, Bob replied. "They're not as advanced as what the military has, but they'll explode when they hit something." Amy nodded. "What about the space mines?" "We've got teams placing them all around Earth's orbit," Bob said. "The aliens won't be able to get close to our planet without hitting something that goes boom." In secret laboratories around the world, scientists work to understand the alien technology from the recordings. Dr. Helen Carter led a team of the world's best engineers in analyzing every detail of the alien ships. "Their hulls are made of something we've never seen before," Dr. Carter told her team. "But every material has weaknesses. We just need to find theirs." "What about their weapons?" asked Dr. Mike Stone. "They use focused energy beams," Dr. Carter replied. "The same kind of energy that destroyed Jupiter's moon. But energy beams need power. Lots of power. If we can disrupt their power systems, we can stop their weapons." As the deadline approached, the aliens watched humanity's preparations with growing confusion. War Commander Thexani stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the reports. From his scouts, "They're not surrendering," his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Veltar, reported. "They're preparing for war." "That's impossible," Exani said. "Every species surrenders when faced with our power. The Carillions surrendered in 2 days. The Venth Empire surrendered in 6 hours. The Zaldorians surrendered before our ships even arrived." "The humans are different," Veltar said. "They're actually excited about fighting us. Our listening posts are picking up strange broadcasts from their world." "What kind of broadcasts?" "War songs, battle cries, messages telling each other to remember Earth and make them pay. They're not acting like a species that's about to be conquered. They're acting like a species that's about to go to war." Thexani studied the holographic display showing Earth. The planet was surrounded by a cloud of human ships, space stations, and weapons platforms. It looked like a world preparing for the fight of its life. "How many ships do they have?" Thexani asked. "Over 300, Veltar replied. "Most of them are civilian vessels converted to military use. Their weapons are primitive, but they have a lot of them." 300 ships, Thexani repeated. "Against our 12 ships?" "Yes, sir. But our ships are far superior. We could destroy their entire fleet in minutes." Thexani nodded, but something bothered him. In his long career, he had conquered 47 worlds. He had seen fear, desperation, and hopelessness in the faces of those he defeated. But he had never seen what he was seeing now. He had never seen a species that seemed eager to fight. "Sir, Veltar said. "We're receiving another transmission from the human world." "Put it on screen," Vexani ordered. The image that appeared showed a human woman in a military uniform. She was young, with blonde hair and blue eyes. She looked directly at the camera as she spoke. "This is Commander Karen Woods of the Earth Defense Force," she said. "We have received your ultimatum. We have considered your demands. Our answer is simple. Come and take it." The transmission ended, leaving the alien bridge in silence. "Come and take it?" Veltar repeated, confused. "It's a challenge," Vexani said slowly. "They're challenging us to a fight, but they must know they can't win." Vexani studied the display showing Earth one more time. The planet glowed with the lights of billions of humans, all preparing for war. For the first time in his military career, he felt something he had never felt before when facing a primitive species. He felt uncertain. "Begin the attack," he ordered finally. "But be careful. These humans are not acting like any species we've encountered before." As the alien fleet began moving toward Earth, the planet's defenders prepared for battle. They knew they were outgunned. They knew they were outmatched. They knew they would probably lose. But a battle began at exactly noon, Earth time. The 12 alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light, traveled just beyond the orbit of Mars. They moved toward Earth like sharks swimming through dark water, their black hulls reflecting no light. Commander Vera Thompson stood on the bridge of Luna Base, humanity's military outpost on the moon. Through the large windows, she could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Soon she knew that jewel would be under attack. "All stations report ready," called out Lieutenant Dan Brooks from his position at the communications console. "Good," Vara said. "Remember, we're not trying to win this first battle. We're trying to learn. We need to find out how their ships work, how their weapons work, and how they think." "Yes, ma'am," Dan replied. On the surface of Earth, Colonel Steve Murphy walked through the streets of New York City. The streets were empty of civilians, but full of soldiers. Every building had been turned into a fortress. Every street corner had weapons pointed at the sky. "How are the civilians?" Steve asked his aide, Sergeant Roy Clark. "Safe, sir," Roy replied. "They're all in the underground shelters. The entire population of the city is below ground." Steve nodded. The plan was simple. If the aliens made it past the space defenses, they would face a ground war unlike anything they had ever seen. Every human on Earth was ready to fight. In space, Captain Tony Rodriguez commanded the Earth Defense Fleet from his flagship, the converted cargo ship New York. The ship was not built for war, but it was filled with weapons and humans who were ready to use them. "Enemy ships are approaching the outer marker," reported his sensor operator, Lieutenant Amy Johnson. "They're moving fast." "All ships, prepare for battle," Tony said into his communication system. "Remember, we hit them hard, and we hit them fast. Don't try to be heroes. Do your job and stay alive." The alien ships entered the solar system's outer defense zone, where the humans had placed hundreds of space mines. The mines were simple devices, built quickly in Earth's factories. They were designed to explode when alien ships came near them. The first mine exploded against the hull of the lead alien ship. The explosion was huge, lighting up space like a small sun. For a moment, the humans watching thought they had destroyed the alien vessel. They were wrong. When the light faded, the alien ship was still there. Its hull showed no damage at all. The mine had exploded with enough force to destroy a human battleship, but it had not even scratched the alien vessel. "Their shields are incredible," Amy Johnson reported to Captain Rodriguez. "Our mines aren't even slowing them down." "Then we go to Plan B," Tony replied. "All ships, attack formation. Let's see how they handle 300 ships at once." The human fleet moved forward to meet the aliens. The ships were not graceful or beautiful. They were cargo vessels and passenger ships with weapons mounted on them in a hurry. But they were crewed by humans who refused to give up. The first exchange of fire was devastating for the human fleet. The alien ships fired beams of energy that cut through human vessels like knives cutting through paper. In the first 30 seconds of battle, 20 human ships were destroyed, but something unexpected happened. Instead of retreating, the surviving human ships moved closer to the aliens. Instead of running away, they attacked with even more determination. Captain Rick James piloted a converted mining ship called the Denver. His ship had been hit by alien fire, and half his crew was dead. His engines were failing, and his weapons were almost out of power. "Captain," called his engineer, Petty Officer Lisa Green, "we're losing power. We need to retreat." "No," Rick said firmly. "We came here to fight, and we're going to fight." He turned his damaged ship toward the nearest alien vessel. "All remaining. Power to engines. We're going to ram them." "Sir, that's suicide," Lisa protested. "Maybe," Rick replied. "But if we're going to die, we're taking one of them with us." The Denver accelerated toward the alien ship, which was 10 times larger. The alien vessel tried to move away, but Rick's ship was smaller and faster. The Denver crashed into the alien ship's side at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth. Pilot Karen Woods was flying a fighter that had been built from spare parts. Her ship was barely holding together, but her weapons still worked. When she saw Captain James ram the alien ship, she felt something she had never felt before in battle. She felt proud. "All fighters," she called over the radio, "follow my lead. If our ships are too damaged to fight, we ram them. Make every death count." The alien war commander Thexani watched the battle from his flagship with growing shock. He had expected the human ships to be destroyed quickly. He had expected the survivors to retreat. He had not expected them to become more dangerous as they took damage. "Sub-Commander," he called to Veltar, "what is happening?" "The humans are not fighting like any species we've seen before," Veltar replied. "When their ships are damaged, they use them as weapons. When they're outnumbered, they attack instead of retreating. When they're losing, they fight harder." "That's impossible," Exani said. "No species acts that way." "The humans do," Veltar said quietly. On the surface of Earth, Dr. Helen Carter worked in her laboratory while the battle raged overhead. She was studying pieces of alien technology that had fallen to Earth from the destroyed ships. "What have you found?" asked her assistant, Dr. Tom Wilson. "Their technology is incredible," Helen replied. "But it's not magic. It follows the same laws of physics that we do. The question is how to use that against them." She held up a small piece of metal from an alien ship. "This whole material is incredibly strong, but it has a weakness. It's designed to resist energy weapons, not physical impacts." "What does that mean?" Tom asked. "It means that while our energy weapons can't hurt them, our physical weapons can," Helen explained. "Missiles, bullets, ramming attacks. The aliens designed their defenses to fight other high-tech species. They weren't expecting to fight primitives like us." Meanwhile, Agent Carl Watson coordinated the ground defenses from a hidden bunker beneath Washington, D.C. He was in contact with resistance groups around the world, all preparing for the alien invasion. "What's the status of the space battle?" Carl asked his communications officer, Sergeant Jane Martinez. "We're losing ships fast," Jane replied, "but we're learning. Every attack teaches us something new about how they fight." "Good," Carl said. "That's what we need. Information." In space, the battle continued. The human fleet was being destroyed, but they were taking alien ships with them. For every 10 human ships lost, One alien ship was damaged or destroyed. The aliens had never seen anything like it. In every previous conquest, enemy ships had tried to preserve themselves. They had retreated when damaged. They had surrendered when outnumbered. The humans did none of these things. They fought until their ships exploded. They attacked even when they had no chance of winning. They seemed to view death in battle as an honor rather than a failure. Commander Vera Thompson watched the battle from Luna Base. Half the human fleet was gone, but they had destroyed 3 alien ships and damaged several others. "Ma'am, Lieutenant," Brooks called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet." "Put it on speaker," Vera ordered. The harsh voice of War Commander Dexani filled the room. "Human defenders, you have fought bravely, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and we will spare your world." Vera picked up the microphone. "This is Commander Vera Thompson of Luna Base. We have a message for you." She paused, thinking of all the human ships that had been destroyed, all the brave people who had died in the last hour. "Our message is this," she continued. "We're just getting started." The transmission ended. On his flagship, Pexani stared at the communication console in disbelief. "Just getting started?" He repeated. "They've lost half their fleet, and they're just getting started?" "Sir," Veltar said, "we're detecting new ships approaching from Earth." Pexani looked at the sensor display. More human ships were coming up from Earth. These were not military vessels either. They were civilian ships, cargo haulers, passenger transports, even small personal spacecraft. All of them had weapons attached. "How many?" Vexani asked. "Over 500, Veltar replied. 500 more ships?" "Yes, sir." "And there are more behind them. Our sensors show that humans are launching every spacecraft they have." Vexani realized something that chilled him to his core. The humans were not fighting to win a battle. They were fighting to learn how to fight. Every ship they lost taught them something. Every attack showed them a new weakness to exploit. "Sir?" Veltar said, "We should withdraw and call for reinforcements." "No," Vexani said firmly. "We can handle primitive humans. We just need to be more careful." But even as he said it, he was not sure he believed it. The humans were not acting like primitives. They were acting like something far more dangerous. They were acting like predators learning to hunt. Down on Earth, President Hayes watched the battle reports in his underground command center. The losses were terrible, but the information they were gaining was priceless. "General Richards," he called, "what have we learned?" "Their ships are strong, but not invincible," the general replied. "Their weapons are powerful, but limited. And most importantly, they're not used to fighting enemies who don't give up." "What's our next move?" General Richards smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "We show them what happens when Huma." 6 months had passed since the first battle. The war that the aliens thought would last 3 days had turned into something they never expected. Earth was not conquered. Instead, Earth was fighting back. Commander Alex Bennett stood on the bridge of the HSS Vengeance, one of the new hybrid ships built using captured alien technology. The ship looked different from the desperate converted cargo vessels that had fought in the first battle. It was sleek, deadly, and designed specifically to kill alien ships. Status report. Alex commanded Lieutenant Commander Sarah Davis looked up from her console. "All systems operational, sir. The new hybrid engines are working perfectly. We can match their speed now." "Weapons?" "Our energy cannons are charged and ready. The new armor-piercing missiles are loaded. And, sir," Sarah smiled, "the tracking system is online." Alex nodded with satisfaction. The tracking system was humanity's newest weapon, and it was about to change everything. No longer would human ships have to guess where the aliens would go. Now they could follow them anywhere in the galaxy. On Earth, Dr. Helen Carter had become the most important scientist in human history. Her team had successfully reverse-engineered alien technology. But they had done something more. They had improved it. "The hybrid drive is ready for mass production," she reported to General Richards via video link. "We can have 500 new ships within 3 months. What about the tracking beacons?" The general asked. "Already deployed," Helen replied, with a smile that looked almost predatory. "Every alien ship that escaped our battles in the last 6 months is carrying one of our microscopic trackers. They don't know it, but we can follow them anywhere they go." General Richards leaned back in his chair. "Excellent. It's time to move to phase 2 of our plan, which is, we stop playing defense. We start hunting." In space near Mars, Captain Megan Ross commanded a fleet of the new stealth ships. These vessels were invisible to alien sensors, built using technology learned from captured alien scouts. They could move through space like ghosts, appearing only when they were ready to attack. "Captain," her tactical officer, Lieutenant Brad Anderson reported, "we have 3 alien ships approaching from the asteroid belt. They appear to be running from something." "Running?" Megan asked. "From what?" "From us, ma'am. These are survivors from the fleet that attacked the Luna base last. Weak, they're trying to escape to alien space." Megan smiled coldly. "Not on my watch. All ships, activate stealth systems. Let's show them what it feels like to be hunted." The 3 alien ships moved through space as fast as they could, their crews desperate to escape the human forces that had been chasing them for days. They thought they were safe. They thought they had gotten away. They were wrong. The human stealth. Ships appeared around them like ghosts materializing out of empty space. The aliens had no warning, no time to prepare. Within minutes, all 3 ships were destroyed. But before they died, each alien ship sent out a distress signal. The message was the same from all 3 ships. The humans won't let us escape. They follow us everywhere. They're hunting us. War Commander Thexani received these messages on his flagship, which was hiding in the outer regions of the Zephyrian Empire. He had been retreating for months, losing ships and crew to the relentless human pursuit. "How is this possible?" he asked Sub-Commander Veltar. "We have faster ships. We have better technology. How are they tracking us?" "I don't know, sir," Veltar replied. "But every time we think we've escaped, they appear. It's like they know where we're going before we get there." Vexani studied the star charts on his display. Red markers showed where alien ships had been destroyed by human forces. The markers covered half the galaxy. In 6 months, the humans had gone from defending their single world to hunting alien fleets across thousands of star systems. "Sir," Veltar said quietly, "perhaps we should contact the Galactic Council. Ask for reinforcements." "No," Vexani said firmly. "I will not admit that a primitive species has defeated the Zephyrian Empire." But even as he said it, he knew the truth. The humans had not just defeated them. They had turned the hunters into the hunted on a world called Korath Prime. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Parker led a special forces team through the ruins of what had once been an alien supply depot. The humans had learned to strike at alien supply lines, cutting off their fuel, their food, and their weapons. "What did we find?" Dan asked his demolitions expert, Sergeant Kelly White. "Enough supplies to support a fleet for months," Kelly replied. "Food, fuel, spare parts. Everything they need to keep running." "Good," Dan said. "Destroy it all." "Sir?" asked Private Joe Martinez. "Why don't we keep the supplies for ourselves?" "Because that's not the point," Dan replied. "We're not here to steal their stuff. We're here to make sure they can't use it. Every supply depot we destroy makes them weaker. Every fuel tank we blow up means fewer ships chasing our people." The team planted explosives throughout the depot. When they were Finished, the explosion could be seen from orbit. Another alien supply line had been cut. Back on Earth, the mood had changed completely. What had started as desperate defense had become confident offense. Captain Tim Richards, the son of General Paul Richards, commanded one of the new hunter-killer squadrons. "Dad," he said during a video call with his father, "you should see the alien prisoners we captured last week. They're terrified of us." "Terrified?" General Richards asked. "Why?" "Because we don't give up," Tim replied. "They're used to fighting wars where you win some battles and lose some battles, and eventually somebody surrenders. But we don't surrender. We don't stop. We just keep coming." "What are they saying?" "They're asking how they can make peace with us. They want to know what we want from them. They don't understand that this isn't about getting something from them anymore." "What is it about?" Tim's face grew hard. "It's about making sure they never threaten anyone ever again." In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Kethfor faced the assembled representatives of 100 worlds. But now the chamber was different. Many seats were empty. The species that had once filled them were either destroyed or hiding from the humans. "The human problem is getting worse," Kethfor announced. "They have spread across 17 star systems. They have destroyed 43 alien fleets. They have captured 12 worlds that belonged to council members." Council member Zithara spoke up, her voice shaking with fear. "How is this possible? 6 months ago, they couldn't even travel faster than light." "They learn," Kethfor replied grimly. "Every battle teaches them something new. Every captured ship gives them better technology. Every victory makes them stronger." "What do they want?" asked another council member. "We don't know," Kethfor admitted. "They don't respond to diplomatic messages. They don't negotiate. They don't make demands. They just hunt down our ships and destroy them." "There must be something they want," insisted Zithara. "Yes," said a new voice from the back of the chamber. It was Sub-Commander Veltar, one of the few survivors of War Commander Thexani's fleet. "They want revenge." The chamber fell silent. Veltar walked forward, his uniform torn and dirty from months of running from human ships. "You don't understand them," Veltar continued. "They're not like us. They're not like any species in the galaxy. When we attack other worlds, the defenders try to minimize their losses. They surrender when the cost becomes too high. But humans don't think that way." "How do they think?" Kethfor asked. "They think that anyone who attacks their home deserves to die," Veltar replied. "All of us. Every alien who supported the invasion. Every world that belongs to the Council. They won't stop until we're all dead or hiding in the farthest corners of the galaxy." "That's impossible," Zithara protested. "No species can sustain that level of aggression." "The humans can," Veltar said quietly, "because they're not doing this out of aggression. They're doing it out of love. Love? Love for their world. Love for their people. Love for their home. They're not conquering us because they want our territory. They're destroying us because we threaten what they love." The council chamber erupted in frightened voices. Representatives demanded action, solutions, escape plans. But Kethfor just stared at the holographic display, showing human ship movements across the galaxy. The red dots representing human fleets were everywhere. They moved like a plague, spreading from system to system, growing stronger with each victory. And at the center of it all was the small blue world where it had all started. Earth. Meanwhile, Admiral Jake Collins, now in command of the human fleet operations, stood in his new headquarters on Luna Base. The facility had grown from a small outpost to a massive military complex that coordinated human forces across dozens of star systems. Admiral, his aide, Commander Ruth Peterson, approached with the latest reports. "Our hunter groups have eliminated another alien fleet near the Vega system. No survivors." "Good," Jake replied. "What about the supply lines?" 70% of alien supply routes have been disrupted. Their remaining fleets are running low on fuel and food. Jake nodded. The strategy was working perfectly. The humans had learned that you don't need to destroy an enemy's entire military. You just need to make it impossible for them to operate. Sir, Ruth continued, we're receiving surrender offers from 3 more alien worlds. They want to negotiate terms. Same answer as always, Jake said firmly. We don't need. 2 years after the first alien ship appeared near Jupiter, Admiral Jake Collins stood on the bridge of the HSS Terra, humanity's new flagship. Through the massive windows, he could see the Zephyrian homeworld spinning slowly below them. The planet that had once been the center of a galactic empire was now under human control. Final casualty report, Admiral, reported his executive officer, Captain Diana Foster. How bad? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer would not. Be pleasant. Minimal human losses, sir. The Zephyrians surrendered their planet without a fight. Their government officials are requesting a meeting. Jake nodded. The war was over, but the hard part was just beginning. Humanity now controlled 17 star systems and had responsibility for billions of alien lives. The species that had once tried to enslave Earth were now completely at human mercy. Set up the meeting, Jake ordered, but make it clear that we're not negotiating. We're explaining how things are going to work from now on. On Earth, President. Hayes stood before the United Nations General Assembly. The chamber was different now. Representatives from 12 alien species sat alongside human delegates. The beings who had once been conquerors were now refugees asking for protection. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored alien representatives, President Hayes began. We are here to establish the new rules for our galaxy. Ambassador Kethfor, the Zephyrian who had started this war, sat in the front row. His once proud bearing was gone, replaced by the posture of a defeated enemy. Beside him sat representatives of other species that had supported the Galactic Council. 2 years ago, the President continued, your Galactic Council decided that humanity should be enslaved. You attacked our world. You threatened our families. You tried to destroy everything we loved. The alien representatives looked uncomfortable, but none of them spoke. They knew better than to interrupt. Your mistake was thinking that humans are like other species, President Hayes said. You thought we would surrender when faced with superior technology. You thought we would give up when the odds were against us. You thought we would forgive and forget after the war was over. He paused, looking directly at Kethfor. You are wrong about all of those things. Commander Lisa Morgan, now Earth's primary ambassador to the alien species, stepped forward. Her role had changed dramatically since that first day on the Discovery. Instead of making peaceful contact, she was now responsible for managing a conquered galaxy. The new rules are simple, Lisa announced. First, there will be no more Galactic Council. The old system of strong species ruling weak species is over. What will replace it? Asked one of the alien representatives, a being from the Carillion Republic. Human oversight, Lisa replied firmly. Every star system in this galaxy will answer to Earth. Every species will follow human law. Every world will be protected by human forces. You're establishing an empire, Kethfor said quietly. No, Lisa corrected. We're establishing order. Your empire was based on conquest and slavery. Ours will be based on protection and justice. What's the difference? Asked another alien. The difference, said a new voice from the back of the chamber, is that we didn't want this job. Everyone turned to see General Paul Richards entering the room. His uniform was decorated with medals from battles across the galaxy, but his face showed no pride in victory. We didn't want to rule other species, the general continued. We wanted to explore the stars and make friends. But you forced us to become something else. You turned us into the galaxy's police force. What if we refuse to accept human rule? Asked the Corellian representative. General Richards smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Then you'll join the species that no longer exist. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what he meant. 3 alien species had chosen to fight humanity to the end rather than surrender. Those species were now extinct, their worlds empty, their names spoken only as warnings to others. On the former Zephyrian capital world, Dr. Susan Palmer worked to establish the Human Colonial Authority. Her job was to manage the transition from alien rule to human oversight, but it was more complicated than anyone had expected. The problem, she explained to her aide, Dr. Kevin White, is that these species don't understand how humans think. They keep expecting us to act like the old Galactic Council. How so? Kevin asked. They expect us to take their resources. They expect us to demand tribute. They expect us to treat them as slaves, Susan replied. When we don't do any of those things, they get confused. What do we want from them? Nothing, Susan said simply. We want them to live peacefully, follow reasonable laws, and never threaten anyone again. That's it. They find that hard to believe? Very hard, Susan confirmed. The Zephyrians ruled through fear and exploitation. The Corellians used slave labor. The Venth Empire conquered worlds for their resources. Every species in this galaxy is used to being either a predator or prey. And humans? Humans are something new, Susan said. We're predators when we need to be, but we prefer to be protectors. In the former Galactic Council chambers, Commander Karen Woods sat where Ambassador Kethvar had once held court. The chamber had been converted into the headquarters of human galactic operations. Where once alien species had plotted conquest, humans now planned exploration and development. Status report, Karen requested from her staff. Major Todd Lewis stepped forward with a datapad. 17 systems under human control. 3 more requesting to join our protection zone. The Venth survivors are asking permission to establish a new colony world. What about resistance movements? Down to less than 1% of the population, Todd replied. Most aliens seem relieved to be under human protection rather than fighting for survival. Karen nodded. It had taken time, but most alien species were beginning to understand that human rule was different from what they had experienced before. Humans built schools and hospitals on alien worlds. They protected weak species from strong ones. They enforced laws fairly, regardless of which species was involved. Any word from the deep space exploration fleets? Karen asked. Admiral Collins reports first contact with a new species in the Andromeda border region, Todd replied. A people called the Altarians. They seem peaceful. Good, Karen said. Let's try to make friends this time, instead of enemies. On his flagship near the edge of the galaxy, Admiral Jake Collins prepared for another first contact mission. But this one was different from the encounter with the Zephyrians 2 years ago. This time, humanity was approaching as the dominant power in the galaxy. Admiral, reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Sandra Bell, we're receiving a transmission from the Altarian ships. Put it on screen, Jake ordered. The face that appeared was unlike any alien species humans had encountered before. The being had silver skin and large, gentle eyes. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical. Greetings, travelers from distant stars, the Altarian said. I am Speaker Leah Randall of the Altarian Collective. We welcome you to our space. Jake smiled. This was the kind of first contact humanity had always hoped for. Greetings, Speaker Leah Randall. I am Admiral Jake Collins of the Human Colonial Authority. We come in peace. We have heard stories of your people, Leah Randall said. Stories of great battles and a species that never surrenders. Those stories are true, Jake admitted, but we prefer peace to war." "That is good to hear," Leorandal replied. "We have also heard that you protect those who cannot protect themselves." "Also true." "Then perhaps we can be friends," the Altarian said. "We are a peaceful people, but we have enemies. The Varkith Empire has been threatening our worlds. They demand that we surrender or be destroyed." Jake felt a familiar anger rising in his chest. It seemed that some species never learned. "Tell me about these Varkith." "They are raiders and conquerors," Leorandal explained. "They have destroyed 7 peaceful civilizations in the last year. They believe that might makes right." "Not anymore," Jake said firmly. "Under human protection, might makes responsibility. Send us the location of these Varkith ships. You would help us?" Leorandal asked, surprise clear in his musical voice. "That's what we do now," Jake replied. "We protect people who need protection." Back on Earth, President Hayes met with his advisors in the same room where they had planned Earth's defense 2 years ago. But now they were planning the defense of entire civilizations. "The Varkith Empire is the last major aggressive power in this region of the galaxy," reported General Richards. "If we defeat them, we'll have relative peace for the first time. Since this war started, how many ships do they have?" the President asked. "About 300, the General replied. "Nothing we can't handle." Dr. Helen Carter, now head of the Advanced Technology Division, spoke up. "Sir, with respect, I think we're missing the bigger picture." "How so?" "We're becoming exactly what the old Galactic Council was," she explained. "A military power that controls other species through force. But we're protecting them, not exploiting them," President Hayes protested. "Today, yes," Dr. Carter agreed. "But what about tomorrow? What about 100 years from now? What happens when humans start thinking that other species need to be controlled for their own good?" The room fell silent. It was a question that had been troubling many human leaders. How do you rule a galaxy without becoming the very thing you fought against? What do you suggest? The